Hello! I'm outside, just quickly grabbed my camera, quickly grabbed myself and went outside because I have a very specific problem with Japan and its working culture that I want to address. I don't even know how to start this video, so I would suggest I just dive straight into it. So right now I'm on the job search again. By now I've been here in Japan for 4 years. I pretty much did more jobs than I have fingers to count on my hand. I did things like teaching, found myself a nice position at translating video games, which was really fun, but sadly the project ended. So yeah, my translation job also ended subsequently. And although I did many jobs until now, none of these jobs really provided me with the opportunity for something long-term and to really stay with one company and feel at home and enjoy what I'm doing. The thing with working in Japan is everything will be great and you will enjoy your time as long as you are okay with the bare minimum. The bare minimum meaning a monthly wage between $1,300 and $1,500. You know, a lot of beginner and entry-level jobs start in the 22,000 to 25,000 yen range, which is completely okay for a beginner or someone non-experienced. But if you are shooting for something with better conditions, you're in for a hard time. You know, I've been doing translation for 4 years at this point. Granted, I'm aware that I'm in a very specific and niche field with Japanese to German and English translation. I am completely aware of that. However, I've got the qualifications, I've got the experience, I've got the skill. So pretty much as long as you have translation work for me, I can get this work done in a professional and satisfactory manner. But despite pretty much speaking 3 languages on a native level and 2 additional languages on a beginner to intermediate level, I have trouble finding me a job here in Japan. Which pretty much brings me to the next point, which is the starting salary, which is a total lie here in Japan. The starting salary is a hoax. You know how they always tell you something like a range? You could earn pretty much anything between this and this as your starting salary. This is complete cap. No matter what you do here in Japan, they will put you at the very lower end of the bracket when you're starting out at a new company all the time. It doesn't matter what experience you have, it doesn't matter what skill set you have, they will put you at the bottom end of this salary spectrum. With the reasoning that you're still starting out at the company and you have to prove yourself first before getting a salary raise. But you know what a lot of companies like to do? They will fire you just before you are eligible for that first raise, because it is pretty much easier for companies just to hire a new person with a lower starting salary than upping your salary. It is beyond me how the cost of living can skyrocket that much in just 2 to 3 years, while the minimum wage is stagnating pretty much across the board. I don't even blame the companies, because the thing is, Japan's economy is damaged beyond repair. Even the big companies, they do not have any leeway. They cannot allow any mistakes, otherwise they will do red numbers. So let's say even if you're okay with starting out at a starting salary of 25,000 yen a month, which is still pretty good for a starting salary, that's around $1,500. You would be completely okay. But if you are shooting for something bigger, let's say 30,000 yen to 35,000 yen, you're gonna have a hard time. You're gonna be a very hard sell for most companies. You know, granted, I'm not the type of person who has like years of experience across the board and is a master in his field. But I do have pretty much 4 to 5 years of work experience in my bag. So I don't see myself starting out at that very end of the spectrum. I don't ask for much, I just ask for something to make a decent living here in Tokyo, Japan. Another big thing is arguments like, oh, I have a family, I need to make a decent wage to make a good living to support me and my family. doesn't count here in Japan. The only thing that counts is how long you've been with that company and pretty much how good is your reputation within that company. That's pretty much the only thing they are looking for when negotiating a salary with you. Another thing I'm having problems with is the Japanese very specific way of working. As long as you're not a purely Japanese person, or at least a half person, so you have some Japanese genes in you, they will harass you. What a lot of Japanese companies are essentially looking for is someone like me with the looks of a Western person, but with the personality of a 100% Japanese person. So you can fit into the corporate culture because they want to make sure that you are 100% obeying their orders. That means even if you have native speaking ability, like let's say you've passed the JLPT M1 test, you're gonna have a hard time in a Japanese company. As long as you're not a half person, so at least one of your parents is from Japan, or you're raised bilingual, you're gonna have a hard time in that company. I mean, you could argue that it is racist in some capacity, but I don't really want to open Pandora's box here. I leave that up to your imagination if that's really some kind of racist thing or not. Another thing I'm having trouble with is that switching jobs is pretty much frowned upon here in Japan. I'm sure you are aware of their lifelong employment system. So Japanese people tend to not switch their jobs too often. So if your resume looks kind of like mine and you're having a new job pretty much every 6 or 7 months or so, you will have to explain yourself to any hiring manager because they feel like, you will betray them and seppuku them from behind or something like that. I know that seppuku pretty much means something else, but I think you know what I'm meaning. The thing with Japanese people is they aren't really rational when it comes to working and when it comes to their work ethics. They pretty much do the same low-level job for all of their life, then undergo the shame of switching jobs and explaining yourself to another hiring manager. And the saddest thing really is, if you're not doing the job for the low pay they are offering, some other sucker will come and do this job for pretty much peanuts. But what I've learned from this situation, what I've learned after 4 years of pretty much doing the same thing over and over again, getting kicked out of a company, having to explain myself to another company, is that maybe I'm just not meant to fit into this workaholic society. I am a man of action, so I could either blame Japan and its working system and its work ethics for my whole life and be unhappy for the rest of my life. Or I could take action and change the situation by myself. And that's pretty much what I'm doing. Instead of crying my whole life, I decided to just go freelance and leave the whole corporate culture thing behind me. And instead of whining how bad it is to work for a Japanese company, I have decided to just not work for Japanese companies anymore. At least not in a full-time capacity. So in this video, I pretty much skipped over the whole middle class thing, how there's a big gap between the many low-level jobs and the many higher-up manager positions, but really the middle-class jobs fading away, getting thinner and thinner, because I think that's a global thing. That's not limited to Japan. I wanted to address a specific Japanese, or let's say East Asian issue, because I am aware that Korea or China pretty much have the same work ethics. So, to conclude this video, if you are planning to come to Japan to work full-time, or let's say if you are planning to stay in Japan for longer than 1 year, don't do it. If you're a professional, if you have some kind of skill, I would strongly advise you to make better use of your skills elsewhere. I know that the Chinese market is desperately searching for new bilingual talents. The Singaporean market pretty much offers a better wage and better working conditions and living conditions. Or even the Korean market has a lot more to offer at the moment than the Japanese market. just now Korea has surpassed Japan in the minimum wage. So a lot of Japanese people are feeling defeated in their eternal fight, between Japan and South Korea. Kinda stupid headbutt thing going on. And one last thing I want to say. Dear Japan, you have a big problem, a big economical problem. Your economy is damaged beyond repair. Please let the foreigners work in peace and let them do their thing. Support employers and give them the means to create a healthy work environment for local talent and talent from overseas as well. If you are just in Japan for a short term, I hope you have the time of your life. If you are here as a tourist or you are doing the working holiday thing, staying here for a year, go ahead, enjoy this beautiful country. Stay here for even a year, work and pay your 20% taxes or whatever. But after that, I would suggest you to leave. Japan isn't meant for long-term stay. If you really want to, you can make it happen, but you'll have to fight for it. And no matter how beautiful this country is and how nice the people are, right now, I'm not too sure if it's really worth fighting that fight. The rose-tinted glasses beginning to fade for the first time since coming here. But that's just my experience. Maybe your experience is very different from mine. I know a lot of people who are happy living here, who have no problems with their work environment whatsoever, and I'm happy for them. And I'm happy that there's still a way to make that happen. I'm just not there yet. That's pretty much about it. Just a quick little therapy session. I hope I didn't ruin your day. See ya next time.